Am I the asshole for cutting down half of my neighbor's tree? I never thought I'd become that neighbor, the one at the center of whispered conversations and judgmental stares. Yet, here I am, standing in the aftermath of a decision that divided my quiet suburban street. It all began with a tree, but this story is about much more than that. It's about boundaries, both physical and personal, and what happens when they're repeatedly crossed. When I bought my house 5 years ago, it felt like a dream come true. The neighborhood was picturesque, filled with neatly trimmed lawns, white picket fences, and friendly waves from strangers passing by. My house wasn't extravagant, but it was perfect for me. Out front, a small garden bloomed with colorful flowers, and the driveway provided a home for my vintage car, a labor of love I'd spent years restoring. It felt like my own little slice of paradise. Then, there was the tree. It towered over the property line, its branches sprawling across my driveway like a giant, uninvited guest. The tree belonged to my neighbor Ben, who lived in the house next door. At first, I didn't see it as a problem. Sure, it cast a shadow over my lawn and driveway, but trees are a part of life, or so I thought. It didn't take long for the inconveniences to pile up. The tree dropped pine needles in relentless waves, clogging my gutters and blanketing my driveway. Sap dripped onto my car, ruining its pristine paint job. Every gust of wind brought down branches and cones, leaving me with endless debris to clean. And then there were the birds. They loved that tree, perching in its branches and leaving their mess all over my car and garden. I tried to deal with it on my own. I installed gutter guards, covered my car, and spent countless weekends cleaning up the mess. But no matter what I did, the tree kept winning. It felt like I was fighting a losing battle. So, after months of frustration, I decided to approach Ben. One sunny afternoon, I walked over to his yard while he was watering his garden. "Hey Ben," I said, keeping my tone light, "that tree of yours is causing a bit of trouble on my side. Any chance you could trim it back a little?" He laughed as if I'd just told a joke.
Oh, come on, Alex. It's just a tree. A little mess never hurt anyone.
I forced a smile and nodded, but inside I was seething. His dismissive attitude made it clear that he didn't care about the impact his tree was having on my life. Still, I hoped he'd come around. Spoiler alert, he didn't. Over the years, the situation only got worse. I hired professionals to clean my gutters and remove the sap from my car. I even tried parking on the street, but that came with its own set of problems. The tree wasn't just an inconvenience anymore, it was a constant source of stress. One evening, as Ben was outside tending to his garden, I decided to try again. "Ben, this has gone too far," I said, trying to keep my frustration in check. "I've spent hundreds cleaning up after your tree. Can we please figure out a solution?" He shrugged without even looking at me.
Not my problem. Maybe you shouldn't park under it.
"It's my driveway, Ben. Where else am I supposed to park?" I shot back, my voice rising. He finally turned to face me, his expression indifferent.
Look, Alex, it's just a tree. You're making a big deal out of nothing.
That was the last straw. It was clear he wasn't going to do anything about it. I walked away angrier than I'd ever been. The breaking point came on a stormy night. Strong winds howled through the neighborhood, and I was jolted awake by a deafening crash. Heart pounding, I ran outside to find a massive branch from Ben's tree lying on my driveway. It had missed my car by inches, but crushed a corner of my fence and left deep gouges in the pavement. I stared at the wreckage, my anger boiling over. This wasn't just a nuisance anymore, it was a hazard. The next morning, I called an arborist who confirmed what I'd suspected. The branches overhanging my property were fair game for trimming. Before taking action, I decided to give Ben one last chance. I knocked on his door and laid it out for him. "Ben, I've had enough," I said. "If you won't trim the tree, I will." His face darkened.
You touch my tree, and we're going to have a serious problem.
I didn't respond. I'd made up my mind. Early that Saturday morning, the tree trimming company arrived. The sound of chainsaws roared through the neighborhood as workers methodically cut every branch that crossed onto my property. I watched, a mix of relief and guilt washing over me. Years of frustration were being cleared away in a matter of hours. Halfway through, Ben stormed out of his house, his face a mask of fury.
What the hell are you doing?
He shouted. I met his glare. "Exactly what I said I'd do. This is my property, Ben,"
You've ruined my tree.
he yelled, gesturing wildly.
It looks ridiculous.
"Not my fault you wouldn't compromise," I shot back. By the time the workers finished, the tree was a sad, lopsided version of its former self. Half of it was lush and green, while the other half was barren. It was hard to look at, but at least the mess was gone. The aftermath was as messy as the tree had been. The neighborhood was divided. Some applauded me for standing up for myself, while others thought I'd gone too far. Karen, who lived 2 houses down, pulled me aside one morning.
Alex,
She said, shaking her head.
you've got to admit it's an eyesore now.
I sighed. Maybe, but at least I don't have sap all over my car. Ben, of course, was livid. He retaliated by planting a row of tall shrubs along the property line, completely blocking my view. He started leaving his trash bins near my driveway and blaring music late into the night. To top it off, he filed a complaint with the HOA. Thankfully, since I'd acted within my property rights, they dismissed it. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd crossed a line. Every time I saw the tree, I was reminded of the tension I'd created. The once peaceful neighborhood now felt like a battleground, and I hated the hostility between us. But what else could I have done? I'd tried reasoning with Ben, and he refused to compromise. So here I am, asking for your judgment. Am I the asshole for cutting down half of my neighbor's tree? Was I justified in standing up for myself? Or did I take things too far? What would you have done in my shoes?